We are living in the Matrix. Almost everything you have been programmed to believe is an illusion of a human trapped in a system of control. Our
The
physical
fastest way out the Matrix is to do exactly what they don't want you to.
I'm gonna piss some people off here, but I've had enough of escaping the Matrix.
You're off for science. You are slowly escaping the Matrix. Without even realizing it. One, you don't find video games and plenty of email. You're causing a stress out being not successful. Three, four.
The Matrix is a system, Neo.
I imagine right now you're feeling a bit like an Alice, tumbling down that rabbit hole. You could say that. You can see it in your eyes. Got that look of a man who accepts what he sees because he expects to wake up. Ironically enough, that's not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate? No. Why not? Well, because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my own life. I know exactly what you mean. Listen, let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know, you can't explain, but you can feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with this world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind driving you mad. And that feeling is what has brought you here today, to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Matrix? Do you want to know what it is? Yeah, the Matrix is everywhere. It's all around us, even in this room right now. You can see it if you look out the window, if you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, go to church, pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, into a prison that you cannot taste or see or touch. A prison of your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix actually is. You have to see it for yourself.
You be the mother and I'll be your fool. I'll hide myself deep inside your crimson pool.
Words can't describe how happy and fascinated I am by the fact that we are still so hung up on the concept of the Matrix almost 25 years after the movie originally came out. It feels like it's still 1999 and I'm just starting to gain self-awareness at the ripe age of 3. Of course, it's no longer 1999 and I'm no longer 3 years old. But since we're still talking about this topic, let me try to put in my 2 cents. Now, these 2 cents might seem controversial to some. It might seem like a bit of a hot take. But here's the thing about the Matrix. As someone who's obsessed over it for at least a decade, the Matrix is real. But our goal should have never been to try and escape it. Our goal should have always been to try and save it. while we still can. Okay. Please, before you click off, enraged, call me a psyop and try to burn me at the stake or even worse, please just try and hear me out. Because even though the term Matrix is so widely used at the moment on the internet, it's almost become a meme, I haven't seen another metaphysical concept so misinterpreted and misguided as the Matrix is. So let me try to explain myself by starting at the basics.
Why don't you get it? Can't you get it? Understand?
The Matrix. I don't think if I know of any other Hollywood film that would change the way we see our reality as much as The Matrix did when it came out almost 25 years ago. Not only did it change how us consumers think about our reality, it even influenced and sparked the creation of a new philosophical idea, the simulation theory or the simulation hypothesis. The simulation theory, in its core, talks about our reality being an illusion or a simulation, to be more precise. But that kind of skeptical hypothesis isn't actually as new as we might think. If we look at ancient civilizations, a lot of them interpreted our reality as a dream of a higher entity, or as a painting created by the gods. But with the invention of computers, of course, that idea got a new mask, a computer-generated mask, to be exact. You see, the Matrix, it's basically just a fancy new age term for what we could call our 3D reality. Even the term comes from the field of computer science, where matrices are one of the most commonly used tools for computer calculation, because they are a very efficient and fast way to read, write, and calculate complex equations. But when we focus more specifically on computer graphics, matrices are at the core of any 3D object that we see on the screen. Without going too much into the mechanics of it all, a matrix allows the computer to render a 3D object on a 2D screen. To be more precise, it allows it to project an image of a 3D object on a 2D screen. Of course, that object isn't actually three-dimensional. Nothing three-dimensional can exist solely on a two-dimensional space. But the matrix allows the computer to trick our brain into believing that the image that we're seeing on the screen is actually three-dimensional. I hope you see where this is going. The simulation theory states that everything we experience, everything that we see, touch, hear, smell, taste, is nothing more than a simulation. Every memory, every experience, every thought is just running code generated by a super intelligent computer. But how exactly are computers even capable of tricking us into believing something like that? This is a line. It's what we could call the first dimension. Any creature existing on this first dimension can only move forwards and backwards on this line. It doesn't know anything outside of it. It cannot perceive anything outside of it. However, if we, as human beings, add additional lines on top of this, all of a sudden we create a second dimension. Any second-dimensional creature can move both up and down, as well as backwards and forwards, like the first-dimensional creature. It can also perceive its lower-dimensional counterpart. Of course, stacking an infinite amount of second-dimensional planes creates the 3D dimension, the 3D reality that we perceive. Of course, we can continue this process an infinite amount of times to create infinite dimensions. But just like with the one-dimensional creature, anything beyond the dimension that we exist in is beyond our comprehension. Let's think about that statement though, truly. This is an orange, obviously. We recognize this orange by its almost perfectly spherical shape, by its orange color, by its roughness of the skin. But look at this orange again. Do you really see a sphere? Or do you perhaps see a circle? You see, our human brain, our eyes, can actually only perceive 2 dimensions. The only reason that we know this orange is a 3D object is because of the way the light reflects from it, creating a 3-dimensional shape. The only reason we perceive depth at all is because when objects are moving closer to you, they become bigger, and as they move farther away from you, they become smaller. However, if this exact same orange will grow smaller in size as it moves forward and larger in size as it moves backwards, we wouldn't actually be able to perceive it moving at all. Same goes for 2D objects. If I draw 3 boxes just like this, and a 2-dimensional creature observing these boxes, the 2-dimensional creature wouldn't actually be able to perceive more than 1 box. Because as the boxes grow farther away from the creature sees them as the same size, thus the first one covering all the others behind it. We cannot perceive the difference between an actual 3D reality and a projection of a 3D reality onto a second-dimensional plane, because we aren't actually able to fully perceive the 3rd dimension. If we did, we would see everything all at once, all the time, and we all know we're not capable of doing that. The only creatures who are capable of telling us if our reality is actual 3D reality or an illusion are creatures of dimensions higher than our own. The only way that we could truly know the truth about the Matrix, about the simulation, is if we would somehow evolve into 4-dimensional creatures. Just like the characters that we create in video games, our knowledge and understanding of the world is limited to the world that we were created in. Just like the characters in video games, there begs the question of whether we exist outside of that world at all.
They're gonna execute the mother to elevate the man.
I'm not sure how many of you know this, but the word matrix originates from a Latin word called matris, which translated to English means the womb or the uterus. Not so oddly enough, it's the same root word used for the word mother or mater in Latin. You see, the Matrix, in its purest form, represents the source. It represents the origin of everything. It represents the creation of life. I mean, the only reason that we understand the word the Matrix as we do today is because some random guy from the 1900s called John Joseph Sylvester began using this word for multi-dimensional arrays. And he decided to use this specific word because he realized that The Matrix can be interpreted as a sort of source, a mathematical entity that can give life to a multitude of smaller, lower dimensional arrays, just like a mother can. And he wasn't wrong. The Matrix is what gives us life. This simulation was created with us in mind. It was designed for us to experience it, just like it was designed for every other living being to experience it fully. The actual truth about the Matrix is that we are one with it. We cannot escape it. And I hate to tell you this, but anyone who says otherwise is either grossly misinterpreting the concept of the Matrix, or at worst, straight up lying to you. The Matrix is the mother. The Matrix is the creator. It is everything on this planet Earth and beyond it. To forsake the Matrix is to forsake our world. It is to abandon the world that we were created with. To abandon the Matrix is to abandon ourselves, our fellow human beings. Our goal should have never been to escape the Matrix. Our goal should have always been to stick around and try to save it collectively. Because by saving the Matrix, we are saving ourselves. And I know our current Matrix has problems. I'm not denying that. It has a plethora of problems, and honestly, most of them were created by us. But the truth is that none of these problems can be solved by simply running away to a new reality. Quite the opposite, actually. The more that we try to run away, wherever we'll run, in whichever reality we'll find ourselves in, we will be facing the same problems over and over and over. Because the thing is that there's nothing inherently wrong with our current Matrix, with the Matrix that we live in. It doesn't have a defect, it doesn't have a bug, but what it does have is malware. What it does have is a virus. And what do you do when your computer has a virus? Do you simply wait for it to pass? Do you just throw the whole goddamn thing away? Go buy a better, newer version of the computer? Maybe copy some of the things that you liked from your previous computer onto the new one, just hoping that you didn't copy the original problem? No. The only way to actually get rid of malware is to try and solve the original issue. You look for ways to try and reverse the damage that the malware has done, and if not that, at least prevent it from doing any more harm in the future. You create antivirus programs to detect the virus before it can even strike. We contain it, disarm it, and create protection protocols for the future. So why aren't we doing the same with our world? Why are we instead trying to run away? Do we even know what we're running towards?
We're gonna propagate the killer, eliminate the youth.
Listen, if there's anything I know about computers, is that no matter how super intelligent they are or what latest technologies they use, they will always have a weakness. They will always be vulnerable and susceptible to malware. I personally love all types of malware, but I'll be honest, my favorite one is definitely the Trojans. I'm sure we all know the famous story about the Trojan horse, right? From Greek mythology. Even though it was actually mentioned only once in a very short passing in the Odyssey, the Trojan horse is pretty famous. It even inspired the name of a type of malware. Just like the name suggests, the malware actually uses quite a similar tactic to the Trojan horse from the Trojan War to infiltrate your computer. You see, this malware, it sneaks onto your computer under the guise of good intentions. Maybe your friend sends you kind of a suspicious link, but he says that you just have to see this thing, so none the wiser you click on the link. Maybe you just wanted to have a nice night in and enjoy one of your favorite childhood movies that's not available on any platform. Or maybe you wanted to try that indie game you can't seem to find anywhere except for Pirate Bay. So you download it. Maybe you thought that well-spoken man with a clean suit and a collection of sports cars, a bunch of women surrounding him all the time, that you stumbled upon on your For You page, did actually make some good points. So you clicked on his profile, and then you clicked on the link in his bio. You see, the Trojan horse, it has this amazing ability to fly past your security system with flying colors. It doesn't raise any red flags. It doesn't raise any attention. It doesn't have to jump through hoops to get you to bring those walls down like your ex-girlfriend. It doesn't have to break into anything because you let it right through your front door. And once it's in, it strikes. It takes over your computer without you even realizing, creates a virtual zombie, allowing the malware owner to do whatever they practically want with your computer. Collect your data, do DDoS attacks, etc., etc. There's so many Trojans floating around with different types of functionalities that honestly, I probably don't know all of them. And even if I did, it would take too long for me to explain them all to you. But I'm not telling you this to make you scared or worried about getting infected by the Trojan horse. No. Because you see, with a little bit of critical thinking, a little bit of discernment, maybe pattern recognition, it's actually quite easy to spot them in this endless stream of information that we're consuming on a daily basis. Because you see, if you look at the data really closely, if you use discernment and pattern recognition, you'll soon realize that there's just something about them. It's like they have this stench following them around wherever they go, poisoning the atmosphere. Just a little .xe where there's not supposed to be one. Maybe an extra file hidden in the folder. Or a file size with a concerningly low content. Honestly, that's all you need to spot them and get rid of them before they strike. there are always going to be people who profit the most by keeping the world exactly as it is. And honestly, the best way for them to do that is to play the role of the revolutionary, to convince that what they're doing is making a difference, disrupting the norm, when in reality they're the ones who are perpetuating this exact same systems that were kept in place for hundreds and hundreds of years. They're perpetuating the exact same systems that they claim to be working against. Just look at recycling, look at the carbon footprint. All of these progressive initiatives were pushed onto us to deflect from the fact that there are hundreds of companies killing our planet. Because you see, it's easier to blame everything that's wrong in this world on an individual's actions than to actually disrupt the foundation of the system that we are currently living in.
They're gonna blind date everyone until you love them too.
So riddle me this. How do we achieve true freedom? Because let's be honest, that's what escaping the Matrix is actually about. Do we find freedom by chasing the same incentives we were giving by the system that is keeping us caged? By chasing money, sex, power? Or do we achieve true freedom by seeking it beyond ourselves, beyond the earthly, carnal pleasures? Do we achieve it by strengthening our mental, physical, and spiritual body? Or maybe, do we find it by seeking and fighting for freedom for every living being and treating them with kindness, compassion, dignity? Which pill will you choose? Because I know which one I'm taking.
This is the answer to the question. This is the sound of the truth. This is the answer to the question. There is nothing you can do.
This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. You can take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed, believing whatever you wish to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep this rabbit hole truly goes.
The children were sobbing.